We have the incredible privilege over these days to take the Daled Minim, the Lulav, the Esrog, the Adasim, and the Aravas, and the Medrash relates that each one of the Daled Minim correspond to a different part of the body. And the Esrog, the Medrash writes, is Domeh Lelev. The Esrog represents the heart. And the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh says something so beautiful. He explains that just like the Esrog, when you choose an Esrog, you look at your Esrog, you want to make sure that it's blemish-free. So too says the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, we have to introspect, look inside of ourselves and ensure that we too are blemish-free. Because inevitably over the course of life, over the course of a day, we make mistakes, there are missteps, there are mishaps. And every mistake leaves its mark on my heart. Every mistake leaves a little blemish on my soul. And so my job each and every day is to go ahead and introspect, look inside myself, examine my heart. Are there blemishes? Are there scratches? Are there bruises? And if there are, how can I address them? How can I fix them? But the Medrash goes a step further. The Medrash says that the Esrog also corresponds to King David, to David HaMelech. And perhaps these two ideas are really connected. That what's the most important trait that a Jew could have inside of his or her heart? The most important trait, says the Medrash, is to be like David HaMelech. What was the greatness of King David? There are so many different aspects to David HaMelech's persona, so many different pieces to his personalistic greatness. But when you look at the life of David HaMelech, I think the most incredible and overwhelming midah was his refusal to give up, even in the midst of the most difficult circumstances. David HaMelech endured anything and everything. Every problem you could imagine, King David had it and lived through it. As they often say, with one exception, Parnasa, he didn't have to struggle with Parnasa, with wealth, or with making a living. Thank God he was king. But everything else, Shalom Bayis, difficulty with children, health situations, rebellion, internal, external, he dealt with all of it. But yet, no matter what happened in David HaMelech's life, and there were so many things, the loss of a child, people who taunted him because of his missteps in life, an inability to start over and rehabilitate his public image. These are things that David HaMelech contended with day in and day out. And yet, when you met David HaMelech on the street, you would see the paradigmatic example of optimism, of hope, of an incredible positivity, because this is what David HaMelech believed in. No matter how difficult or overwhelming your circumstances may be, you must maintain a positive disposition. No matter how difficult or overwhelming your circumstances may be, you must ultimately again maintain a good and optimistic outlook on life. You must have hope that the future is going to be beautiful. You must have hope that you will get to the light at the end of the tunnel. You must have hope that no matter how overwhelming the challenge is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you the strength and will partner with you to be able to meet them. And perhaps that's the joint symbolism. Yes, the Esrog represents the heart of the Jew. And just like if the Esrog has blemishes, I try to clean it up a little bit. If my heart has blemishes, if my soul has blemishes, which it does, because I make mistakes each and every day, don't pretend like the blemish is not there. Don't pretend like the blemish doesn't exist. There are some people, when they go to buy Esrogim, so some people just pick it up, they don't look at it, they put it in the box. Some people, mamish, they look under the microscope, right, to look at everything. And neither approach is good. Because if you don't care enough to look at the Esrog, you don't care enough about the mitzvah. But if you look too closely, you're always going to find a blemish, because nothing in this world is perfect. And it's the same thing with our introspection. I have to put myself under the microscope. I can't beat myself up for every single thing I do wrong, because I'm a human being. I'm finite. I have limitations. But to ignore the blemishes, to ignore the spots, to ignore that which is broken, that's catastrophic. That's catastrophic, and that's a fundamental shirking of my life responsibilities. But while I introspect, while I look at my heart Esrog under the microscope, I have to be a David HaMelech. Never lose your sense of hope. Never lose your sense of optimism. Never lose your belief that no matter how difficult things may be right now, you will get through it. Maybe not in the way you had hoped, maybe not in the timeline you had hoped, and certainly not the same person than before your particular challenge. But you'll get through it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you the strength, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be there to hold your hand the entire time. You will get to the light at the end of the tunnel. You will cross your finish line. This is the Esrog. This is the heart of the Jew. Wishing everyone a wonderful day and a good night.